Why do we go to school? Easy answer is we go to school so that we can get a good job. We need a good job so that we can be a productive member of society and also have enough money to feed and house ourselves. Well, okay. What about a little bit more specifically? Why do we actually go to school and learn the things that we do in school? When I think back to my own high school days, I learned a lot of stuff in school. I learned all about, the periodic table. I learned all about parts of a cell. I learned about, how to conjugate regular ER verbs in French. I certainly learned lots about polynomials and, trigonometry, sine functions, a lot of different things. All those things that I just mentioned, I don't use any of them in my day-to-day life right now. And to be honest, I can't remember most of that stuff. I remember just enough to mention it, but if you ask me to tell you something about any of those things, sorry, can't do it. I forgot. Now, there is some things that I learned in high school that I do actually remember. It's not stuff that I necessarily need for my job. As you all know, I am a teacher. That's my job. Things that I learned in school that I remember and find interesting are things like jazz music, economics, history, world history, international relations, Mandarin. When I went to live in China for a few years, that came in pretty handy. But nowadays, not really using it, to be honest. So those are all things that I learned in school that I don't need, but which I found interesting, and I still enjoy learning about them today. So that's kind of another category of things I learned in school. And here's another category, things that I wish I had learned in school that would have been real useful for my life, but which I never did. And that includes like basic woodworking skills. I had to learn that on my own because I wasn't smart enough to take woodworking in high school. So a little plug for Mr. VK's class, sign on up. Those are really good skills to have. House skills, like how to maintain a house, like what to do when certain problems arise in your house. Didn't learn any of that in school. We'll be touching on some of those skills later on in the course, so you can look out for that. Computer science skills. So I am a computer science teacher here, take my classes. But yeah, I didn't really learn those skills in high school, but I did learn them in university, so that's probably fine. And so those are skills that I'm still using today. Other kind of computer skills like how to use a computer, didn't really learn that in school. Maybe a little bit, but to be honest, not really. And those are pretty critical skills for basically most jobs, I would say, today. Require more, some use it more and some use less, but all of them need to use a computer to some degree. How to cook. So I never took home ec in high school, and I kind of wish I did, because cooking, I mean, to be honest, everybody needs to eat, and so it's really useful to know how to cook, because if you can't cook for yourself, that means you're relying on someone else to do it for you, which if you're going to restaurants can get expensive, and which if you're relying on family members, yes, that can work, but maybe it's good for them to have a break every once in a while and let you take on some of that work. Anyways, knowing how to cook, super useful life skill. Okay, so we've talked about things that I learned that I forgot, things that I learned that I still remember and enjoy learning about, things that I didn't learn, which I wish I learned. What about things that I learned that I still actually use? Okay, well, as a teacher, I do use basic math, and so kind of basic, I would say basic algebra skills up to grade maybe 8 or 9, pretty useful, doing percentages, averages, any of these kind of things, pretty useful, but not kind of much math beyond that. I haven't done much in the way of polynomials and exponents, really, stuff like that. Don't use it much, to be honest. Except I do help students with their math when they come in with, Mr. Wu, I don't know how to do this. If you have that problem, come see me. I can help you out. Usually, I do retain enough of that in the old brain to help you out at least up to math pre-calc 11, no problem. Even some pre-calc 12 stuff I will be able to help you with. If you are having trouble, come see me. After you go see your math teacher as well, of course. The other skill that I used, that I learned in school, basic reading and writing. I didn't really learn that in school. I learned that probably at home, and certainly before I ever got to high school, I already had those skills. So I don't know if I can say that school taught me those skills. So yeah, I guess that's it. Just that basic math. So did I waste like 13 years of my life going to school and learning all this stuff, a lot of which I have now forgotten? No, I don't think so, actually. So part of going to school is getting a base level of knowledge that, like any citizen living in our country should have, or any person should know generally how things work, how math kind of works, how nature kind of works, how our government kind of works, how people work. Those things are pretty important, I think, just as a baseline level of knowledge. And so even though I can't necessarily tell you exactly today, what are all the functions of each part of the cell? What do they all do? I can't quite remember all the details, but I know kind of in general terms, we're all living things made out of cells. Plant cells have kind of harder walls. Animal cells are kind of more squishier, and there's like a cell membrane. I know some of this stuff, and that's kind of background knowledge for me of how the world works. That's important. So that's kind of one part of like why we learn all this stuff in school. But really the bigger part, or the main part of why we learn things, is to gain access and practice using certain skills. So we talk about math and science. I'm kind of generalizing here, but in math and science, we're using those logic skills, like you're thinking through your head, okay, if this happens, then like as a result, like here's kind of the result. That kind of process, that kind of thinking is really valuable to us. In whatever we do in life, this will become valuable. By learning this logical thinking, you can diagnose a plumbing problem. You can, you can think through your strategy of your business strategy when you're in charge of this company. So that skill is really useful, and that is the skill that you're practicing by doing, basic math and science. When we're learning social studies or history, in that case, we're learning about the past, and we're learning how people behaved back then, how people behave now, and hopefully by learning those things gives us like some wisdom. We get the benefits of those experiences and seeing how those experiences worked out for other people, so that maybe we can improve upon that potentially. So that's one reason to learn kind of social studies and history. And English is also kind of part of that, right? Because when we study literature, generally it's about people and their experiences and their thoughts and how people behave and interact. And when we look for themes in novels or movies or films or whatever, we're looking for those things, those deeper truths about human experience, which we can take those into our own self and learn from it, realize something about life from reading that or consuming that literature. English also teaches us how to communicate. Written communication especially is super important in your life or in our lives, and in most workplaces, like very important, as well as kind of verbal communication. I mean, you're learning these kind of communications in all the different areas, because you have to communicate during the lessons and assignments and projects or whatever. But English kind of has maybe a special focus on it. In all cases, we are learning these kind of really important skills of critical thinking. So all this reasoning and like this wisdom, it all comes back to critical thinking, being able to think clearly, and which will help us kind of function in the world. And so we've already discussed critical thinking, communication, we've discussed. Those are things that, in this class, we're explicitly trying to look at and learn. And in all your other classes, you are either explicitly or implicitly learning those things also. The better critical thinker, problem solver, and communicator you are, the better off you'll be in your adult life. There's another reason why school is super important, and I think it's a really good reason, and which is high school is a chance to explore. In this school, we are particularly lucky because we have so many different areas that you're able to take classes in and explore. We have multiple languages available for you to learn. We have different shops, electronics, metal, wood, automotive, graphics, and computer science. We have different, textiles. We have a cafeteria, a culinary program. We have various art programs, video production. We have business programs. So many options for us to choose from. I guess it's low stakes in that in high school, if you try something, if you sign up for something and you realize that it's not really for me, or maybe I'm not really great at this, that's okay, right? Like it's one of your classes and didn't work out great. It's fine. Nobody is going to care about that. Or maybe you didn't get a great mark in some class, and it doesn't matter that much. For a lot of especially those elective classes. Oh my God, I didn't even mention music and drama. Like music is like the most important thing, at least it has been in my life. So I was really big in the music department when I was going to school, and I don't work doing that now. Has nothing to do with my job, but still so important as like a hobby and stuff. Anyways, I know for you right now, it seems like every class, every mark that you get is super important, and they are, but once you get a little bit of perspective, it won't be that important, and more important is the experiences that you got. So you won't, I promise you, in 20 years from now, you won't remember what mark you got in whatever class, or you won't remember, that one assignment, how you did, or that test. But what you will remember, hopefully, is some of the ideas might stick with you, or some of the experiences, or at least you'll know, I tried that thing, it wasn't really for me. That's valuable information as well. Okay, we'll talk more, in a future lesson about the importance of marks and getting into post-secondary and stuff like that. So all I'm going to say for now is that it's the marks are important, but not as important as as right now you probably think they are, and not as important in the long run. Just not as important as you think. Not saying that you shouldn't try hard and do your best, because you should. But if you did that and things don't work out that well, it's okay. It's fine. This is a low stakes environment. You're trying different things, and it's fine. Think about it this way. If you wanted to try out, say, computer science, you can sign up for my course. And if it doesn't work out, you've spent like 1/8 of 1 year on this. But if you want to try something out in university, well, that's kind of a 4-year commitment, right? You're like, I want to try majoring in computer science. Well, that's 4 years. So in high school, it's much lower stakes, because if you don't like it, that's fine. Just move on. Whereas if you're in a post-secondary, maybe you even decide after the first year, maybe that's not for me. But then you have to like apply for another school or whatever it is. It's a bit of a bigger deal once you're into post-secondary. So that's another reason why school, I think, is so useful. So the next time that you are struggling with some math thing, oh no, radicals on the denominator, or what do I do? I can't figure this out. And it's so frustrating, I hate math. Don't think like that. Think, yes, I am honing my critical thinking skills. I am sharpening my logic and reasoning skills, so that in the future, when I come across other areas where those skills are important, I will be an expert in those type of thinking skills. Or you can think, yes, radicals on fraction denominators. I know now that is one area which I will not study in post-secondary. That's not even a thing, I don't think, in that you can study, so it's fine. But yeah, just think about it that way. You're gaining useful skills and gathering useful information, even when the things that you're studying may be frustrating or you are unhappy about it. All right, that's the end of this lesson, and we'll see you in the next one.